Many of you on the trail today have bikes equipped with this Fox DPS. Many of you still have this on the trail as well, the Fox Float CTD. Some of you may remember the Fox Float RP2 and RP23 series. Let's open these shocks up and see what's inside. We will begin today with the Float DPS. Let's remove the valve cap. Deflate and remove the Schrader core. And remove the Schrader valve stem. Clamp the eyelet in a vise. Remove the lock ring. Remove the evol sleeve. It's the outer chamber. Little crack of air. Remove the entire air spring. Fox Float DPS damper. Next, we'll remove the air spring from the Fox Float CTD. We'll remove our air cap, deflate, and remove Schrader valve core. Remove the valve stem. Remove the entire air spring. There is no outer or extra volume evol sleeve on this model. It does have a specialized auto sag air can, and we'll discuss that later. Fox Float CTD damper. Fox Float RP2 with the old high volume air can. I'm going to remove the cap, deflate, and remove Schrader core. Remove the outer high volume air sleeve. remove the entire air spring. Fox RP2 damper. Fox float RP23. Remove valve cap. Deflate and remove Schrader core. Remove valve stem. Remove entire air spring. Fox float RP23 damper. Okay, Fox float DPS damper disassembly. First thing we need to do to be safe is to remove that Delrin pellet there. I call it a D-ball. It's there just to keep people from removing that screw and letting all the nitrogen gas out of their shock. So that's step one. Just a tamper-proof plug. And usually you can get them out by stabbing and then just leveraging up like that. All right. Then we need a 4mm Allen. You'll hear a hiss. There it is. It's nitrogen. And there's the plastic puck that was holding the gas in, just simply wedged between the screw inside the damper body there. That's that. Next, we'll remove the seal head. Fox calls it the bearing. It's the air seal head and the oil seal head in one piece, so they call it a bearing. It's actually a clever name. When you do this, you don't want to crush this cavity. That screw captures a ball bearing that holds your oil in, so you don't want to crush that. It's your bleed port. So wherever you put the wrench, so if I turned it this way, I'd be crushing that corner. So we want the wrench here to safely remove this one. Hold it with your arm, give it a push. That one was torqued appropriately, which is rare. Okay, here's our Fox Float CTD. This one is designed for the specialized mount, so it's a little bit different, but the exact same exercise, slightly different location. It is a little more difficult. I'm going to poke that Delrin ball and just leverage it out. It's giving me trouble, so I'm going to tap it with a hammer. That one cracked in half. This one's just going to come out in pieces, which is okay. Should never take anywhere near this amount of time. This is exceptional. Just because we're on film. There we have it. 4mm to degas. Barely any in there. That was extremely loose, by the way. And the puck did not stick to the screw there. But there it is. All right. Same thing, we don't want to crush that bleed port. Okay, we'll find out what color that fluid is. Okay, Fox Float RP2. Going to remove our gas plug here. You can see it's actually already gurgling right there. So it's been leaking for quite some time. This is an old shock. Should have been serviced probably 10 times during its life. I bet it's been serviced 0. A lot of people abuse these shocks and think that they're still functioning when they're not. Again, this is older, so that Delrin plug is dry and it's just going to crack to pieces. And there we go. Degas. All right, and there's our plug and screw. Same thing, I keep repeating myself, but do not crush that bleed port. It's something you do once in your career and never again. Some people do it 0 times. Okay, that's loose. Let's go find out what color that fluid is. All right, next, Fox Float RP23. Exact same routine. Clamp it down, try it without a hammer first. Push. Leverage it out. There you go. That one was normal stubborn. Okay, degas. This is an old shock, so it's not uncommon for there not to be much. This one also might shoot the ceiling. It's going to shoot the ceiling, so carefully bring it away, cover it. Oh, we got it. So the plug did stick to the screw. It's not uncommon. Just like that. All right. Same thing, we don't want to crush our bleed port here. So we're going to put the wrench somewhere else. All right. Okay. Hold the whole thing. Boom. All right, we'll go see what color that fluid is. Here we are at the drainage basin with our Fox Float DPS. Just gonna find out what color the oil is after use. should be pink. And it is a little bit orange. Lots of aeration, see that? Air bubbles hissing. Alright. So not terrible, but definitely time for service. Okay, here we are with our 3 remaining shocks. We're going to find out what color fluid is inside this CTD here. Should be a pink color if it's Fox new. Carefully remove. There could be some gas hidden. I can feel it's not under pressure though, so I'm just going to let it come up. Alright, almost no fluid in this shock, friends. So it was not working well. The fluid that is in there is absolute black death. Okay. So what happened here, most likely, is the seal that controls this dish went bad. So there's a little seal that goes around that inside this tube here. And likely all the oil voided out these controls quite some time ago, and the rider just kept on riding it basically with a dual air spring, because there was a little nitrogen air spring in here and the air spring that goes on like normal. And when the piston would pump, this piston would contact the IFP, which is in there, and basically actuate that second air spring. So it was a 2-chamber air system, even though that's not intentional, and it's not good. And you'll wear things out. So empty. Next we'll see our RP23. "100% voided and empty." So again, that means that square cut seal is what they call it in here in this eyelet. Dead center went bad, and all the oil actually voided out the controls, and the rider just kept on living. RP2. Gurgling, so we could have a cracked IFP in here. Could have just been some bypass. But be very careful when you hear gurgling like that, because you will blow this thing up in your face. You can see it. I'll give it wiggle sometimes. I don't hear any more gurgles or hisses. Ah, it's foaming. So we're going to wait a little bit. Fluid does look red. A lot of these shocks don't get ridden, so it's really hard to say what you're going to find inside. Any shock needs annual service though, just at rest. There's a lot of force working inside these even when you're not using them. So if you want it to work properly, you definitely want to service it every year, even if you didn't use it. There it goes. There's the rest of the gas. Boom. All right. That's what we have inside. Extremely aerated, darker orange oil. And I think we're going to have a cracked IFP. It's hard to see, but we'll shoot it out of there here in a minute. It looks intact. So we just had a severe IFP bypass due to severe age. So, all right. Next, we're going to remove our IFPs. We'll do that with the use of air. Simply take your body, and let's see where you can see. Point it down, give it a little shot of air. There it is. IFP, independent or internal floating piston. It's also a gas separator. So it floats in here. The large portion is full of oil. You charge this portion with pressurized nitrogen. And as the piston pumps in and the shaft enters the oil, there needs to be some displacement for that. The shaft takes up space, so this compensates for that. And hopefully the gas charge is strong enough to return it quickly upon rebound, so you don't get little micro boiling there. That's what cavitation is. It's actually extreme heat that builds up inside of there. So anyway, a lot of engineering goes in to figure out how much pressure to use on the different models, and some work, some don't. All right. Second body. Got a little shot. Alright. It's intact as well. Looking good. That shock was 100% empty upon arrival. And last, the CTD, which was filthy, covered in black sludge, just as we expected, but intact. Okay, Fox Float DPS piston disassembly. This is the dish here. It actually, when you hit the lever, simply just closes. See if I can help you see that better. So that's closed, so oil can't get in those holes, obviously. You put it into the middle position, and it opens that just a crack, so some oil can get in. And in the wide open, it opens it a lot, so a lot of oil can get in. So again, climb, middle, wide open. All right, that just slides right out. That's all it is. It's a dish, top hat. Make sure it's not bent. Give it a roll. That one looks pretty straight. All right. Next, just got to remove this. Special tool to do so. Available directly from Fox. Carefully take this top one off. There are shims inside, as you can see there. So I just hook the shims like this and put them back in the same order they came up. Just like that. Okay. And then just take a magnet, touch it on one side, magnet the other side, so nothing flies, and all the shims come up except for that one. One that's sticking. Usually they all come up. Not today. First time for everything. All right, so I'm just going to remove it with it on. Okay, take this with you. All right. A few things to do with it from here. A lot of people like to put it on an Allen wrench so it's safe, like that. And that one little shim that wouldn't come up is just stuck with oil. It's just glued. It's funny. Oh well. There we go. Okay, so that's up and off. And I'll stick that on our magnet. Just like that, in order. All right. So no need for the Allen wrench. Just stick it just like that. Perfect. Okay, then the bearing can just pop right off. Bottom out bumper. Don't scratch your shaft at all. Pop right off. This plate here sometimes can be hard to get past these volume spacers, so pull that volume spacer out and it'll come with it. Just like that. All right. And we're stripped down to the shaft. Next, we'll do the same thing with our CTD. If you remember, this did have a dish in it as well. We removed it when we drained the oil and found that there was no oil. But it does the exact same thing. Climb, trail, descend. Just pulls right on out. This one has holes. Specialized likely requested those so it doesn't lock out super firm. This one's also pretty warped because there was no oil in the shock. I suspect this was actually coming into contact with the IFP on hard hits, so it coned that out a little bit. That may or may not be available for this age of a shock. DPS, it definitely is. CTD parts are running scarce. RP23, don't even think about it. They're all gone. Alright, so it was a tool for this one as well, a nice socket tool. It doesn't exist anymore, they're hard to find. But the spanner will work. Twist it off. Careful not to lose any of those shims. Boom. Pop that off, same routine. Bottom out bumper is absolutely clobbered on this one. Specialized tunes are usually pretty light, so the rider's probably just bottoming it out a lot. And we'll dig this thing out again. Don't stab yourself. Alright, there we have it. And we're stripped down to the eyelet, down to the shaft. Okay, RP23, this was a boost valve series shock, so it does not have a dish, and it does not have as firm a lockout to the shock that does have a dish. So it looks entirely different. There's no dish there at all. You don't have to pull anything out. However, I'll show you this. The compression lever pushes this little, there's a poppet right there with a spring, which I'll show you in a moment. So every time you push that lever, it makes it stick in that hole a little more firm, just allowing less oil to slip through. So we'll crack that open. You do need to be careful with these. As I will show you, there are small parts. Up it comes. Make sure you pull it straight up and off, so that you don't lose that little guy. And there are tiny washers underneath that little guy, so there are lots of little things to lose here. See if I can get it to focus. There we go. Those itty bitty washers under that spring are not easy to replace, so don't lose them. Put it right there. Okay. Pull the bearing off. Again, bottom out bumper was utterly clobbered on this one. And our little plate needs to come off, and boom, we're stripped to the shaft again. Last, and potentially least, the RP2. Same thing, this is a boost valve model. It's a little bit more modern actually. So there's two places this can come apart, and it shows actually, oh, okay, so the boost valve itself just degassed, and same thing, we got to be careful. There's a teeny little spring. Alright. Carefully stick your finger alongside the springs and the washers. Same thing, just tiny. Tiny little washers, don't lose them. Set it down. Remove the bearing. Bottom out bumper in better shape than all the others. And plate. All right, time to pull the shafts out of the eyelets. Okay, here we are back with the Fox Float DPS. Going to remove the piston shaft from the eyelet. This process can be a little bit creepy. Sometimes you can do it without fire. Other times we need to use the torch to loosen up some Loctite. So first put it in the vise, 9 millimeters. Whatever wrench you like. And little bump. There she goes. Okay. Carefully pull that eyelet up inside. Just dry Loctite. This is called the rebound metering rod. That little nodule right there engages the cam on the control and pushes it down, or lets the gas push it back up. Okay. And then the actual piston shaft. That's it. Okay. Same thing, Fox Float CTD. A little longer shaft here. Make sure they're nice and dry so they don't slip. Favorite tool. Give it a little bump. Oh, it's slipping. There it goes. Okay. Same thing, just some dry red Loctite in there. Nothing else to see, just the eyelet with the controls. Very similar rebound metering rod. And they actually use the same thread pitch on the shafts between these two series, so they are interchangeable unless you have a metric shaft, and in that case it'll be black. Alright, number 3, Fox Float RP23. These older shocks were assembled at a time when they were using more Loctite, so I wouldn't be surprised if we need to torch this one. Oh, got it. Okay. You just don't want to have to push too hard. They're alloy shafts, they're not steel, and you will crack them right in half. And these old ones are no longer available, so you'll be calling and selling a new shock. Alright. Nothing to see in there, just red Loctite in the eyelet. There's the controls. This uses different metering rods. Remember, this is a boost valve shock. Be careful, you can lose. There's a little ball bearing here that you can actually lose, and it's teeny tiny. And it's hard losing any bearing, but when you lose that one, it's tiny. You can't find it. And there's no seal left. I can tell just how easy that's moving. The seal's just gone. You can actually see it. There's that jelly colored stuff. That's not grease. That was the original seal. It just disintegrated. So long gone. Anyway, pull those apart. And next. Fox Float RP2. Again, these older shocks oftentimes will have to torch a little bit, so we'll give it a try first. No need for the torch today. It's no fun. It's never fun when you don't need fire. All right. Same thing, just slowly at the end, kind of roll it off so you don't lose any ball bearings. Nothing to see inside. It's not uncommon to see this spring. It helps it to return on certain lengths for whatever reason. And there is still a seal on that one, though it's pretty worn, but it's at least there. It's not falling back and forth like the other. All right, let's do some comparisons. Okay, air can seals. All 4 of these shocks actually use identical air can seals, so this will just be a matter of how fast can we do it. Let's see here. That's one. Outer wiper, inner quad, first glide ring, second glide ring. Don't stab the can. One. Outer wiper, main quad, first glide ring, second glide ring. Don't stab the can. All right. Outer wiper, main quad, and one of the glide rings went with it. That's a bonus. And don't stab the can. Last one. Okay, so let's look at what it actually is. This is the outermost, the wiper. And it is there to scrape dirt away, pretty much, and keep it from even getting to these. There's a reverse Oreo sandwich inside, behind the outer wiper. This is the quad ring. It's called a quad ring because it works like 2 O-rings. As you can see, it's got 2 bands, and it's the same on the inside. It's similar on the inside. This is actually referred to as a special quad because it's a special Fox one. But anyway, these glide rings here sandwich that, and that is so that the air pressure cannot force the seals out of the alloy gland that they rest in. They found that material actually holds it in better. So, all right, that's that. Next, let's pull the seals off of the bearings. Same thing, same seals on all the bearings, very similar process. You just rip them out, rip them off. These are actually just cut, so you don't have to really do anything, just pull them. Right there. And the last thing to strip the bearing is that plug that I was warning you not to crush. So it's a 2mm Allen, I believe. Roll out a little grub screw. Behind that is a stainless steel bearing. Give it a little tap and it'll fall out. There it is. Alright, from there you just clean this very well. Actually, there's one more. 2 more. One seal here. Easy enough to dig. And the seal right there. You want to be careful not to damage the bushing behind the seal. So I like to kind of get in here with the squiggly pick. Stick the seal, kind of get behind it, roll it out away from the bushing. Just leave it resting in there like that. And then you can take your pick and gently grab it without hurting the bushing. And pop her out. There it is. So that firm rubber seal holds all the pressure of your shock inside. It's a very important seal. That's the main shaft seal. That's the whole deal. So that's it. We're going to do that times 3 more. Okay, first big quad, roll it off. Next, find the splits, and they're easy to push too, just slip them. There it go, there it is. Boom. Get that easy big guy out of there. Hook that one. Careful, this one's pretty rotten, it might rip. Got it, okay. Boom. Alright, and then plug. Done deal. quad. That one was really worn out. And peel those away. Peel that away. 20 push-ups for a tool hitting the ground. Boom. All right. Out it comes. Last one. All right. Roll that quad off. Get the glides out of there if you can. There it is. There it is. Big easy seal. Behind it, push it down out of the way, and hook it safely out. Done deal. All right, float DPS controls. Here we have it. They simplified it on this one finally. One little screw holds the blue lever on. Easy. And this is a set screw that holds the rebound assembly in, opposed to on. Might take some spray cleaner to get this out. There we go. That's our set screw. Okay. And then we very carefully, there's a detent in here with a spring. So pull that away, see that little ball? That's the cam assembly. That ball will roll down right there. It's stuck with grease, all right? And then there's a spring right here. 100% stripped. All right. Next, float CTD. So this one is a newer CTD and it's also very simple. They did the same eyelet. So just one holds the lever on. One holds the rebound knob in. Sometimes it'll tap out, other times you have to dig it. I can dig it. All right, there it is. Set screw. Watch for those being bent. They're just 70 cents or so. And carefully don't lose that ball. That one's stuck to the knob this time. No grease in this one, so this rider's been through a few rivers. And there we go. Sometimes also just the oil voiding out the controls actually washes the grease away because it comes out with such force. And that's that. Okay. Okay, RP23, this is the most complicated one we're going to deal with today. It's just got a lot going on and Fox didn't have it quite simplified yet. So first knob's simple enough, it's very similar, you just pull a set screw. And that's the 1, 2, 3 selector. It's basically the platform amplifier, is kind of how I think about it. And then this one, another set screw pulls the actual lever. You have to come up pretty high on this because it goes into a recess. A little more. stud welded. Okay, so here we have this, so we don't lose it. And then, so to keep, the reason this rebound knob can't spin 360 degrees and has stopping points is that set screw. So you just simply remove that entire set screw. All right, set screw is out. Now that knob will spin 360 degrees, as you see. So last is this screw, and behind this screw is a spring, and behind that spring is a BB. And that's what's making the little detent clicks for you. So that's out. Usually this will come out. Oh, they came out nice. Okay, boom. And boom. Again, no grease in there. So all the oil kind of cleared that thing out, or they ride in the rain a lot. Probably both. All right, there's your parts. All right, last RP2. Almost identical to the RP3, just that outer knob isn't there. But the actual housing is the same. It's the same part number and everything. So it's a little different. There's a second set screw here. This limits the throw of the compression lever, so the compression lever cannot spin 360 degrees. So there's two set screws. And then the same spring and bearing. Oh, the ball stayed, so there it goes. All right, and out they come. A little more simple cam in that one. All right, that's that. Okay, the last seal we need to remove from the eyelet is that shaft seal. So there's just an O-ring in there. There it is. One of those in each one. Just twist, out it comes. Put your tool next to it, find it, twist, out it comes. Alongside it, feel it, push and twist, boom. Okay, each and every one of these shocks also had that IFP inside. We do need to remove that seal. It's a firm one. Give it a pinch, roll it off. Nice fat seal. Same thing, pinch, roll it, done. Okay, let's take a look at all of our disassembled shocks here. DPS and CTD. Use the same piston shafts rather. Different pistons. The same IFPs are in all 4 of our shocks today. Same valve stem, all 4 of our shocks today. Very similar damper bodies in all of our shocks today. Most are still available. Very similar eyelets in all of our shocks today. Very similar controls. Very similar bearing. Identical in some cases. If you haven't already noticed, the shocking truth in this lesson, my humble friends, is that Fox has been selling you the same thing for 20 years. Okay, we're going to do a quick rebuild of our Fox Float DPS. I won't rebuild the other 3 just because it's very similar. There are a couple seals that we didn't get out of the others inside this, and I'm going to show that real quick. Inside the shaft, it's very difficult to show on film, is a small O-ring. I think I've got it. Turns out it's exceedingly difficult to show on film. There it goes. Okay. That little guy was in there. Okay. And that's the seal between the metering rod and the piston shaft. Next, there's actually a seal right here. This goes in this direction. There's a piece of rubber in there. It's hard to see. But that goes in there like that. Okay, so we have to get that rubber out and put a new one in. So it is right here. If it'll focus. Okay, so I'm going to get it just like that. Careful not to scratch the sides of the rod and push it up out. There it is. So this is the very smallest seal in the whole thing. It is referred to as the square cut seal. Rather than an O-ring, it's actually like cookie cutter cut out of a sheet of rubber. So it's not like a rope where an O-ring's round all the way around. This is actually flat and square, so it's called a square cut seal. So that is the little difficult to install seal that we're dealing with. And I'll set that aside. Oops. Right here. Okay. Next, I need to spray these out with some cleaner. So this is spotless, clean. We're going to put in a new square cut seal. So I'm going to get a little bit of slick honey grease on my finger, get the new seal, and just coat it with a thin coat. Then I'm going to slip that brand new square cut in just like that. Okay. And I'm very carefully going to go through the seal with this pick all the way down, nudge the side of it into its gland, verify with one eye that it's where it needs to be, and then just push it home like that. And that is how it's done. So square cut's installed. Perfect. Next I got to spray this out with some cleaner. So this is completely clean. I'm going to get a little slick honey again on our new metering seal. Rest it in there. Take a 2mm, poke it in to the depth that you think where the gland begins. Again, this is virtually impossible to show on film, but you'll need to practice it if you plan to ever do this. This is the thing that a lot of people complain about and claim you can't do, but it obviously just got done in under 30 seconds right before your eyes. All right, so then next, a little thin coat of honey here. Okay. And just carefully wiggle that in into that seal. Boom. All right. That's it. All right. Set that aside. Now we're going to have to reassemble our rebound cam and compression controls. Okay, so anything waterproof. None of this really contacts anything that matters. This is just a matter of you want it to be lubed so it doesn't seize up from mud and rain and crud. So any thick waterproof grease is fine. Fox uses a blue stuff. I forget the name of the brand, but this red military grease works as well. And I like to go ahead and install my blue knob at this point. There's a little dimple for this set screw to line up with. So just make sure they're there. Hold it. Give it a twist. When it gets close, you can go just not quite all the way tight, give it a little wiggle. You can feel if it's in its little round divot. And then just snug it up. You don't gotta King Kong on that bolt, just snug. Okay, all right, next. Our little spring and ball bearing that you were careful not to lose during disassembly. I like to take that, if I can find my tool. There it is. Okay, so I hook that on a pick like this, get a little red grease on it, like that, and then I just put it in the hole. And that gives you a little bit of a glue to put your bearing. Okay, so now your ball bearing is just sitting on that spring. Okay, set that down just for a moment. Take a good amount of grease. This is the cam that actually interfaces with your compression rod, and this is the cam that actually interfaces with your rebound. So you can see as you turn it, it changes shape and pushes those rods in different places. So you want to lube that whole thing pretty heavily. Okay. Next, you simply insert that whole thing into here. As long as your lever's in anywhere there, you're fine. You're not going to hurt anything. So just hold that here. Get your set screw again. Whoops. Drop your set screw right in the hole there. 1.5 millimeter wrench. Twist her down. Alright, then tighten it down till it stops. Not really hard, just till it stops. Right there, nothing wants to move really. Okay, then you back it up. Back it up a quarter turn. So hold it right there, and then everything should turn freely. Knob feels good. Wind the knob all the way counterclockwise, the red one, until it stops. Don't force it. Same thing here, that way. Set that aside. Find your eyelet seal. That's this guy. Lightly lube it with some honey. Potato chip it into the gland. It can take a few moments. Good to go home. There we are. This is our shaft seal. Our piston eyelet seal. And then here we are. Little Allens usually help to guide those home. Okay, so we have this, we're going to place it here. We're going to put a little red on top of that ball bearing, right there, and just some right there. Red Loctite on the piston shaft threads. Decent amount, not crazy. Let it chase the threads a little bit. Okay, now that protrusion needs to line up with the rebound cam. So the rebound cam is toward the controls. And since you've twisted this all the way counterclockwise, it's already in the correct position. So I'm going to take this like that, put it in the hole, make sure it can't wiggle, make sure it's in its place, slip that down, and thread in the shaft. Okay, got my shaft threaded. I'm going to take it over to the vise and torque it down at 28, or actually, sorry, 80 inch-pounds, 85 inch-pounds. And I'm going to do that with this device here. That's 80. Alright, so I had that in my shaft clamp with this tool at 90 degrees. Boom. 80 inch-pounds. Alright, so a little bit of Loctite will have pooled up. Just fold a paper towel, stuff it down, and give it a little spin. And you can see a little red mess that you don't want in your shock. Alright, next, put it back in here. It's not a bad idea to test the function of your rebound, so hold an Allen wrench and give that a twist. Your Allen wrench should come up when you twist it one way and back down when you twist the other way, and make sure it stays down. Compression in the open position there. Okay, volume spacer that was in this shock right here. Click. Alright, and then your bottom out plate. A lot of times there's old Loctite encrusted to that, so just make sure it's not going to fall off and cause you an air leak. Clean it off a little. Alright, drop that back on. Brand new bumper from your seal kit. Boom. Okay. Next, our clean bearing. I'll take this. There's two seals in the kit that are approximately the same size. It's the slightly larger one that you want for this. Alright, so you put that right here. Okay, done. Next, our main shaft seal. It's nice and white. You saw them come out various colors of tan as they had been used and beaten. This is a firm material. It's not like rubber. It's flexible, but it's not rubbery, so it's a little tougher to get in, but you just click it in place. And once it is in place, it gives you a nice audible click, and you're there. All right, so then take this, wiggle it on, like that. Okay. Next, we're going to take our piston, thread it on. Make sure no shims are getting pinched. If you're doing anything strange. This one is 60 inch-pounds. All these torques are published on Fox's website in the service section. Tech help, I believe they call it. Boom, that's 60. Next, we're going to remove this, carefully remove this blue glide band, like that. Oops. Use it in my vise, that little guy. Set that aside, get a fresh one. I like to give it a little lube on the underside just to make it slip on nice. Hold it all in one motion, like that. Alright, and next, our shims that we had set aside connected to that magnet. Put those back home. Nice like that. This little guy I'm going to clean. Okay, and this one gets a very low torque. It's actually 22 inch-pounds. And many wrenches won't go that low. This one does. $22. Okay, so carefully, slowly. $22. Okay. Next, our IFP seal. Little slick honey. On you go, boom, okay. Into our clean damper body. We're gonna get a little bit of Fox Red here and put it on that rubber just to help it slip in like that, okay. And look up our depth, and to do that, we need to measure our stroke. And we'll measure it in inches because this is Fox. We are about 1.75. So we'll look that up on our chart. Alright, and 1.75 stroke shocks of this age are 2.15 depth, so 2.15. Alright, there. IFP is set, 2.15, double check. And perfect, okay. So now we'll take our new nitrogen plug, put it in there. And our screw. Just like that, just snug, doesn't have to be crazy tight. Just snug, boom. Okay. Next, make sure this is nice and clean. Very thin coat of slick honey here just to help it in. Drop that home. And don't push this at an angle. Push right on the bolt and just firm and deliver it. And you can test it real quick if you want. Make sure it doesn't flip right out. If it yanks right out, you push the seal through or cut it. If it feels like it's kind of stuck, then you're good. Okay, just like that. Alright, our damper body. Make a little bandana for it, like this. Nice and straight. Alright. Fox Red to the brim. We'll torque this to 28 Newton meters. It's good to get that ready ahead of time. Okay. Now there's that bleed port hole that I've been telling you to be careful about here. What I like to do is just put my finger on that hole, hold this upside down in my right hand, take some Fox Red, pour it in the gutter there, in the edge. You want this to fill those holes in that piston. So get it all the way to the top. It's going to be a little bit messy. Don't get any on you. All right, and then pour it in. Give it a spin as you go. And you want to see fluid. Some air bubbles are okay, but mostly fluid spewing out that hole. Okay. Find your hole so you don't crush it with your wrench. 28 newtons, done. There we are. Okay. Drop this ball bearing into the hole to plug it. 2mm Allen wrench for the screw. Alright, now all dish style shocks made by Fox. So that means that plate covered, dish means that plate inside on that top hat covers the holes on the piston. All dish style shocks get 500 psi of nitrogen. So we'll get this snug. You don't want to over tighten that thing, you'll rip it out. It just needs to plug that steel bearing into that hole. And actually is airtight, so here we are. Alright, let's go charge this with nitrogen. Alright, so here we are at the nitrogen gun. We're going to shoot 500 psi in this float DPS. First thing we need to do is loosen that a bit. Alright, and I'll show you why. This is a Fox safety needle. So we're going to push this button and slide that out, and out pops that needle. If this thing is too tight, it'll actually force rubber to go into the hole of that needle. So if it's nice and loose, this needle will slip right through, and there will be no trouble like that. And then this will actually tighten that screw down like that. And then we'll hit it with the gas, fire in the hole, done. Alright, snug that just so, not too much. And that's that. Okay, we've disassembled, reassembled, nitrogen charged our Fox Float DPS. Now it's time to test the damper out. So the first thing I like to do is make sure that dish is seated well, so put it in the middle position, firm. It's rock hard. Alright, so wide open, boom, it works nice all the way down, not voiding any oil. That means that the dish has enough space in the damper body not to come in contact with that IFP and hydraulically stick to it and yank out and then spray oil around. That happens to you 1 or 2 times in your life in this profession. And there you are, nice and slow as you rebound it, nice and fast. Alright. So this shock is 100% functional. Rock hard, alright. Give it a couple clicks of rebound where it should be. We're happy. Okay, final assembly of our Fox Float DPS. First thing we're going to do is take our air can, glide ring, go in the second gland, boom. Special quad, coat it in slick honey. Put it above that first glide ring, snap it in. Second glide on top of the quad. So you've made a reverse Oreo. And that one's a little more fun to snap in, but it's fine. And the outer wiper, don't really need to lube it as much on the outside, and we'll lube the inside. Right, so that's that. Next. Damper. First thing we actually need to do, brand new Delrin ball in there, and just squeeze it home. Here we are. You can follow Fox's directions and hit it with a hammer if you're brave, but I don't choose to do that. Okay, there we are. Alright, these are split glide rings, so easily installed. Quad ring, lots of lube. Put that on there. Boom. A lot of weirdos on the internet think that you need to line these cuts up. That's absolutely not true. And lube this up. Alright, that's sufficient. Okay, same thing here. Nice little amount. Not too much. I did a little too much. Alright, and then just a thin coat right there. Very thin. Okay. I'm gonna Seal kits include a little packet of float fluid. Cut the top off that. Squeeze just a little dollop in ahead of time. Wiggle this around, there it is. Squeeze more. They used to tell you to put 5 cc's in there. They say less now. If you put in too much, it'll just simply leak out, and your customer will, or if it's your shop, you'll see it. But someone might tell you use too much oil. A lot of times they say it's leaking, even though it's weeping. All right, so get this nice and dry. All right, so you can get a strap wrench on there. You don't got to go crazy tight at all. Just till it stops. That's it. Nothing more. All right, last, these little O-rings are very rarely in adequate supply. One comes in each service kit, so if you hoard them, you can have enough to do an entire shock. So anyway, very light amount of lube. Over there, one goes here, one goes there. All right, and they simply seal on your outer sleeve, which is right here. So there is an up and a down, just figure out what that is. Slip it on, boom, okay. And you probably remember our lock ring we had. That simply goes home like that. And lastly, our air valve stem gets a new seal. Right here, right there. On it goes. Gently place that in. You'll need an American Allen wrench to finish this job, because Fox is American. Very easy to over torque and snap these off, so you just go to the stop. You probably will break one in your life if you do this. I think they're $10 and they include a new Schrader. Alright, and last we'll go ahead and put our Schrader in. A lot of people like to put just a dot of lube on the Schrader. Probably not necessary, but have it, and here we go, and we are. And that is full assembly of a Fox Float DPS. We'll take this back over to the dyno and show you the air fill process in just a moment. Okay, here we are, last step on our Fox Float DPS rebuild. Gonna apply our pump here. And we're going to do this in roughly 50-pound increments, so air up to about 50. Now we need to equalize our chambers, so there's a little port that allow air to get from the positive to the negative chamber when the seal passes it. Listen closely. I don't know if you were able to hear that, but it was just a very light air hiss. So that dropped about 20 psi because filling up that negative chamber takes a good amount of volume. So we were sitting right at 50, we'll go to 100. Okay, reading 100. Watch that needle jump as I press and hear that? Just equalized, and see now we're below 100. Alright, this shock came in at 100, so we'll top it off, remove it. Give it a test. Alright, lockout works, trail mode works. Rebound works. That was full slow, here's full fast. Dramatic difference, that's what you're looking for. Set it somewhere nice. Polish and go. Your cap. float DPS. Thanks for tuning in.